Hello, and welcome to Handled-ish, Productivity for the Imperfect, a weekly podcast for those who want to elevate their productivity, but are not looking for perfection. Bleh, but are not looking for perfection. I always think it's funny when I fumble that particular line. I'm your host, Betsy Hayes, clearly imperfect, and I'm so grateful that you're here with me, either watching on YouTube or listening in podcast land. This is episode 54. If you're feeling down, be a pebble or a goldfish. So, I don't know about you, but if I'm feeling a little bit down, I tend to be less motivated, probably less productive, and definitely less happy, right? Because that's literally the definition of being down. And I've been thinking about that a lot lately. And I love me a good analogy, a good metaphor, all the things. That's one of my favorite teaching tools and just literally what I talk about in everyday life. So I was thinking about a couple of metaphors that might be helpful with this. And one was the idea of a pebble, and one was the idea of a goldfish. So we're going to start with a pebble. So you get the metaphor, right? A pebble, gets plopped into a pond or a pool or any kind of still body of water. And you drop the pebble in, and then you get the little circles as the pebble, that go outward from the pebble, right? So it's the ripple effect from the pebble. And we can use that metaphor to help us when we're feeling down. We can use it in two ways. So, first of all, we can use it externally, right? We can be the pebble in the pond of our lives, right? We can do things that will, help the world that we are living in, right? Whether that's our family unit, the folks we live with, our workplace, our community, our church, a community group we're involved in. We all have little environments or big environments that we are a part of. And we all have the ability to make those, better or more fun or more cheerful. I mean, there's a lot of ways that you can impact your environment, your external environment, and particularly the humans in your particular environment. So the idea with the pebble, right, is to, focus on how you can show up, or how we can show up. This isn't just about you, it's also about me. How we can show up in our different environments in ways that can make them better. So maybe, we can be sunshine or light, right? Maybe we can be a source of joy for people. Maybe we can be a source of support for people. Maybe we can be a source of humor. Maybe we can be a source of information. Maybe we can be, a source of collaboration, right? There's many, many ways that we can be that pebble that has a ripple effect in our environment. Because when we show up in ways that make our environments better, it does have this ripple effect, right? Obviously, it's most closely related to the people that we interact with most, but potentially, this could be contagious, right? And people might, feel a little better or be inspired or think, you know what, maybe I should be a pebble too. And, and slowly we're making impact in larger and larger circles in our different communities. I find that when I'm down, and the research supports this, that when we do focus on the good we can do externally, it makes us feel better. And so, since this is all about you today, there's nothing wrong with acknowledging the fact that that could certainly be a motivation. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I don't think that's selfish. I think that's just taking advantage of something that is a win-win, right? So we could be a pebble in our external environment. We could show up in awesome ways that make the world better in our little circles, and then hope that it will be contagious and circle out in the different parts of our community. We could also be a pebble internally. Sometimes when we're feeling down, we aren't taking care of ourselves the way we should. And so you could, start the pebble effect in your own internal environment, right? What are some of the, habits that help you feel better? And typically those are habits that, are universal to all of us being, healthier, happier humans. What are those habits that you can either restart or create? Starting small, right? So then they can have the ripple effect in you internally, and therefore impacting how you feel, right? The research again backs this up, right? Sleep, our fundamental pillars, right, of health, sleep, good nutrition, moving ourselves, all of that helps us feel better, right? Meditation, those sorts of things always help us feel better. And if those are habits that, we don't have at the moment, we can start so small. Actually did that this morning. And how then I'm, farther along in my knee recovery, I want to recreate, a habit of doing a plank every day, every morning. And so today wasn't great, kind of hurt a little bit, did it for about 25 seconds. But you know what? I started small and I did it. Right. So tomorrow I will try to do another 25 seconds. Right. And pretty soon I will have recreated my habit of a plank, which I have found for me does have a pebble effect on my internal environment. It's just a really nice way for me to start my day. Those of you who know a little about yoga and the chakras, the third chakra and your core is where a lot of transformation takes place. So there's a lot of symbolism associated with this particular habit. So option one, be a pebble. And there are two ways to do it, right? So 1A, be a pebble in your external environment, right? How can you show up to do good that will have ripple effects? And or you can 1B, be a pebble internally. What are the things that you can do for yourself to have ripple effects on your health, physical, mental, emotional, all of those things? What can you do that's good for you? Right. One thing I didn't talk about when we were talking about 1B was the importance, right, of relationships. And again, the research bears this out. So how can you? What is a small pebble related? What is a small pebble like thing you can do in a relationship that's important to you? Maybe you haven't seen your best friend or your dear friend in quite some time. Maybe today is an opportunity to make plans to do that. Maybe it's a phone call, maybe it's just a text exchange. I personally know that I feel 1,000 times better if I have stuff on the calendar that I can look forward to. That doesn't, feel crazy or illogical. So, that's something again that we can do in the idea of 1B pebble, right? Internal pebble. So the second option is to be a goldfish. And this, of course, if you have watched Ted Lasso, know where I'm going with this. In the show Ted Lasso, Ted, the coach of the team, tells his players to be goldfish. And especially when they're playing a game. And the reason is evidently, and I have not looked this up, I'm just taking the writers of Ted Lasso's word for it. Goldfish have the world's shortest attention spans, right? Their attention spans are like a nanosecond. And the idea is that if you don't have a very short attention span, you can't be dwelling on what happened, just prior. So obviously, this is really useful when you're playing sports, right? Let's just, soccer is the sport of choice in Ted Lasso. You shoot or you take a shot on goal and you don't make it, or you create a penalty, or you go out of bounds or kick it out of bounds when you didn't intend to, or you miss a pass, or you miss a tackle, or there's lots of opportunity to screw up in soccer and in all sports. And so the idea of being a goldfish, right, is to be like, okay, I didn't make that shot on goal. I'm not going to worry about it. I'm just going to focus on what's happening right this second in the game. And we can do that in our lives, right? Obviously, in my opinion, this works best when we know we have our week planned, our day planned. We have, the things that we want to do kind of slotted in so we know, when we're going to be doing things. So we're not worrying about stuff happening. We've got a beautiful plan for that. And then I think we can turn into goldfish mode, right? We can really be in the moment, whatever that moment is. And if something, happens that doesn't quite go well, let's just focus on what's happening right now and in the future and not worry about it, right? We all have awkward interactions with people, or maybe it's just me. And, instead of worrying about an awkward interaction or a word that you misspoke, clearly I don't worry about that. Or, an email that you perhaps didn't phrase beautifully, but it got the job done. Or, whatever it is. Don't worry about it. Just focus on what's happening right now in the moment. Be a goldfish because, again, the research proves this too, that when we are more present in our lives, we are happier. And frankly, I believe that that also can make us more productive because you know how inextricably tied those two things are. So yeah, maybe be a goldfish today. Try it out. Something happens, just leave it in the past and focus on what's going on now. Obviously, if we've screwed up big time and we have to fix it, let's go ahead and do that. But most of the things that we ruminate on are not stuff that we really have to go back and fix. They're just little imperfections that we're frustrated with. And really, ruminating doesn't help. So, the goldfish thing might be just kind of a fun thing to explore, or maybe do it for a finite period of time, right? Let's just be a goldfish at lunch. And, whatever happens, just really, really focus on what's going on in the moment, whether it's your lunch that you're eating, the people that you're eating with, the environment that you're eating with or in, excuse me. Maybe that goldfish vibe could be fun in that perspective. So yeah, a couple of thoughts for you, especially if you were feeling down, as all of us are on occasion. Consider the pebble. Be a pebble in your external world. Be a pebble in your internal world. Maybe you also want to, layer a goldfish vibe on top of that. Pick all three, pick one, pick none. You know how I feel. Use what's going to be helpful. Please disregard all of the rest. And as always, I wish you the most fabulous week. So thank you so much for joining me today. And as always, I'd love to know what you think. At Betsy Hayes on social, BetsyHays. My website, betsyahays.com. And yeah, please tune in for next week for another episode of Handled-ish, Productivity for the Imperfect. Until then, please take care and please be kind to yourself because I am absolutely certain that you are doing way better than you think you are. Trust me.